Ladies and gentlemen, listen, we gotta talk. And I mean really talk. Because too many of us are out here living life like emotional hitchhikers, waiting for someone else to drive us, validate us, rescue us. And that's gotta stop. You weren't born to depend on anyone else's mood to determine your peace. You weren't built to hand over the keys to your happiness just because someone else had a bad day. Today, right now, we're cutting the cord. We're taking our power back. You're gonna learn to stand on your own emotional 2 feet like a damn warrior.
Let's go.
Emotional independence is strength, not isolation. It's one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern society. Too many people hear the word independence and assume it means cutting people off, pushing others away, or going it alone without support. That's not what emotional independence is. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being solid in who you are, regardless of what's happening around you. It's about building a foundation inside yourself that can weather storms without falling apart every time someone else changes their tone, mood, or opinion of you. We live in a world that teaches us to attach our emotional state to external factors. Approval, attention, validation. These become emotional lifelines. If someone's happy with us, we're good. If they're upset, we spiral. That's not strength. That's dependence masked as connection. True connection comes when two people are whole on their own and choose to share their energy, not rely on each other to survive emotionally. That distinction changes everything. Think about it like this. If your self-esteem rises and falls based on how someone else feels today, you've handed them your power. That's dangerous. You become a puppet to their emotions. You lose sight of your own compass. Emotional independence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply, but you don't let someone else's chaos hijack your peace. You know who you are. You know how to comfort yourself, motivate yourself, and show up for yourself when no one else can or will. People who aren't emotionally independent often fear being alone because silence feels like rejection. But when you build emotional strength from within, solitude becomes peace, not punishment. You stop fearing your own company. You start to realize that your thoughts, your resilience, your ability to process and grow are more powerful than you were ever told. And once you know that, you stop being desperate for other people to fill the void. Because the void starts to shrink. You fill it with your own voice, your own truth, your own purpose. The other side of emotional dependence is the weight it puts on others. When you rely on someone else to constantly make you feel okay, that's pressure. That's emotional labor. That's not love. That's emotional outsourcing. And people can feel that even if it's not spoken. It creates tension. It drains relationships. When you show up as someone who can handle their emotions, who can self-regulate, you become lighter to be around. You're not looking for rescue. You're offering real connection. That's powerful. That's attractive. That's rare. There's also this cultural idea that needing others emotionally proves how close you are, how much you love them. But deep emotional dependency is often rooted in fear, not love. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of facing life without someone holding your hand every second. Love should feel freeing, not suffocating. And emotional independence gives you the ability to love more freely because you're not scared of losing yourself in someone else. Strength isn't about pretending you're unaffected. It's about knowing how to manage what you feel without collapsing. It's about recognizing when you're triggered and pausing before reacting. It's knowing how to soothe your own pain before placing it at someone else's feet and demanding they fix it. This kind of emotional discipline is what separates chaos from growth. People who master it become stable in ways most never experience. They don't need the world to be okay. They bring calm into chaos instead of absorbing it. Stop outsourcing your self-worth. This is one of the most important shifts you can make in your life. Every day, people walk around unknowingly giving away the most powerful part of themselves, their sense of value, and they hand it off to friends, partners, social media followers, bosses, even strangers. It becomes a game of approval seeking. Did they compliment me? Did they respond to my message quickly? And suddenly your mood, your confidence, your entire sense of self starts to depend on how others perceive you. This is a dangerous way to live, because the truth is people are inconsistent. Their attention is inconsistent. Their love can be conditional. Their validation can change on a dime. And if your self-worth is built on something so fragile, you will never feel secure. You'll constantly be chasing reassurance, tweaking yourself to fit expectations, performing instead of living. You become a mirror reflecting what you think people want from you, instead of being the source of your own identity. That's not empowerment. That's emotional slavery. You have to understand that self-worth isn't earned through applause. It's not given to you by others. It's something you claim, something you decide. It's a declaration. I am enough as I am. I don't need to prove it to anyone. And that's not arrogance. That's self-respect. That's recognizing your intrinsic value, the kind that doesn't waver when you mess up, when you're rejected, or when someone doesn't see your worth. Their blindness doesn't erase your brilliance. But if you've outsourced your self-worth, you won't believe that. You'll start dimming yourself to avoid judgment. You'll start doubting your voice every time someone disagrees. It starts young. Many of us were raised in environments where love was performance-based. Get good grades, be polite, don't cry too much, impress people, make everyone proud. So we internalize the idea that we're only worthy when we achieve, when we please, when we're liked. That becomes the blueprint. And as adults, we replay that same script. We hustle for approval, terrified of disappointing people. We avoid conflict, not because we're kind, but because scared someone might not like us anymore. That's what outsourcing self-worth looks like. It looks like fear disguised as people-pleasing. The problem is, no matter how much external praise you gather, it's never enough. You'll get the compliment, and then the high fades. You'll get the promotion, and then you're anxious about keeping up. You'll get the relationship, and then you fear losing it, because deep down, you don't believe in your worth unless someone is constantly reflecting it back to you. That's a hollow way to exist. It keeps you emotionally dependent. It makes you vulnerable to manipulation. It keeps you stuck in relationships and environments that drain you just because they offer you breadcrumbs of validation. When you stop outsourcing your self-worth, everything changes. You start making decisions based on what's right for you, not what will get you approval. You stop shrinking your truth to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You stop tolerating disrespect just to avoid rejection. You walk away from people who can't meet you where you are, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, because you no longer need them to prove anything to you about yourself. Self-worth built from within is unshakable. It means you can receive criticism without crumbling. You can be alone without feeling worthless. You can succeed without becoming arrogant, and you can fail without falling apart. Because your value doesn't rise and fall with circumstances. It doesn't need to be earned, chased, or begged for. It's yours. It always was. You just forgot, or maybe you were never taught. Either way, it's time to remember, because the moment you stop looking outward for something that was always meant to come from within, that's the moment you begin to live on your own terms. Set boundaries without guilt. That phrase alone makes a lot of people uncomfortable because we've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish, that protecting our time is rude, and that prioritizing our mental health means we're letting others down. But that conditioning is a lie. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out, they're about keeping yourself intact. They're the lines that protect your energy, your peace, your sanity. And the truth is, if you don't set them, someone else will decide them for you, and it usually won't be in your favor. People who struggle with emotional dependence often have a hard time setting boundaries because they fear conflict or rejection. They think if they say no, they'll be abandoned. If they speak up, they'll be misunderstood. So they stay quiet. They agree to things they don't want to do. They overextend themselves. They absorb other people's problems like sponges, thinking that being available 247 makes them a good person. But what it really does is drain them to the point where they have nothing left to give. Not even to themselves. Guilt is the hook that keeps people trapped in this cycle. Guilt whispers, "You're being mean." It says, "They'll think you don't care." It tricks you into believing that your job is to make everyone else comfortable, even if it means betraying your own needs. But guilt is not always a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just a sign that you're doing something new, something necessary, something that challenges the roles you've been playing your whole life. And when you realize that, you stop letting guilt steer the ship. There's a major difference between being kind and being a doormat. Kindness comes from a place of choice. People pleasing from fear. If you're saying yes out of fear of what someone might think, that's not kindness. It's survival, and that's not sustainable. Eventually, the resentment builds. You start feeling bitter, exhausted, taken for granted. That's what happens when you continuously override your own needs to serve everyone else. It's not noble. It's self-destructive, and the longer it goes on, the more disconnected you become from your own voice. Boundaries are a way of saying, I matter too. My time matters, my mental health matters, my needs are valid, and that's not a threat to anyone else. In fact, people who respect you will also respect your boundaries. The ones who get offended by your limits are usually the ones who benefited from you having none. And when they push back, when they guilt, trip you, or call you selfish, that's not a reason to cave. It's a sign that you're doing the right thing. Growth is uncomfortable, especially when it disrupts the dynamics that were never healthy to begin with. Setting boundaries means being willing to disappoint others in order to honor yourself. It means getting clear about what you're available for and what you're not. It means saying no without explaining yourself to death. It means understanding that no is a complete sentence, and you don't owe anyone a justification for protecting your peace. You're not being cold, you're being clear. And clarity is what keeps relationships healthy. When you don't communicate your limits, people will cross them, not because they're malicious, but because they don't know where the line is. It's your job to draw it. Boundaries also create space for real connection. When you show up authentically, when you're not pretending to be okay with things that drain you, you attract people who respect that. You build relationships based on honesty, not obligation. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop resenting people for things you never voiced. That's what boundaries do. They give you the freedom to be yourself without apology. And when you can do that without guilt, that's when you know you're living from strength, not survival. Feel your emotions? Don't let them control you. That's the difference between emotional maturity and emotional chaos. Too often, people either suppress what they feel or let it consume them entirely. Both extremes are damaging. Suppression leads to emotional numbness, where you disconnect from your own reality, walking around pretending everything's fine while your inner world is on fire. On the other hand, being ruled by emotions means you react impulsively, say things you regret, spiral into anxiety or anger, and lose your sense of direction the moment something upsets you. Neither path serves you. The power comes when you learn to sit with your emotions, acknowledge them, and respond, not react. Feelings aren't facts, but they are signals. They're messages from within. When you feel sad, angry, lonely, jealous, or anxious, those feelings are trying to tell you something. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. Acting on them without reflection only makes things worse. Emotional strength isn't about not feeling. It's about understanding what you feel and learning how to manage it without exploding or imploding. We live in a world that often teaches us to be ashamed of our emotions. Boys are told not to cry. Girls are called too sensitive. Everyone is expected to stay positive, keep it together, and not make things awkward. So what happens? People learn to bottle everything up. They pretend. They lie to themselves and others. And that pressure builds. Eventually, it leaks out through passive-aggressive behavior, toxic communication, or emotional breakdowns. You can't outrun what you refuse to face. You either deal with your emotions consciously, or they will deal with you unconsciously. Feeling your emotions means allowing yourself to experience what's happening inside without judgment. It means sitting in discomfort instead of distracting yourself with noise, food, people, or screens. It's being able to say, I'm feeling this, without needing to fix it immediately or make it someone else's responsibility. This level of self-awareness is rare because it requires courage. It's not easy to confront pain, to feel the weight of grief, the sting of rejection, or the hollowness of loneliness. But doing so is the only way to heal. You can't heal what you won't feel. At the same time, emotional discipline is crucial. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Your emotions are valid, but they are not always accurate reflections of reality. Sometimes they're based on past trauma, on fear, on insecurity. If you let your emotions take the wheel, they'll often drive you straight into regret. That's why the space between stimulus and response is sacred. That pause, that breath, that moment where you choose how to respond, that's where your power lies. When you learn how to feel without losing control, you stop blaming others for your state of mind. You stop saying things like, they made me feel this way. No one makes you feel anything. You feel what you feel, and you're responsible for what you do with that feeling. That doesn't mean you're immune to hurt, disappointment, or frustration. It means you've built a strong enough foundation to weather those emotional waves without being swept away. This skill changes everything. It allows you to have hard conversations without blowing up. It helps you deal with criticism without collapsing. It gives you the ability to support others without absorbing their emotional chaos. You stop needing to fix everything or control everyone just to feel okay. You develop emotional resilience, the ability to stay grounded, steady, and present no matter what storm is happening around you. That's the kind of strength that people feel when you walk into a room. It's not loud or performative. It's calm, centered, and quietly unshakable. Healing isn't a group project. No matter how much support you have, no matter how many people care about you, and no matter how many books, therapists, or mentors you surround yourself with, the truth remains the real work happens inside you, by you, and for you. There's a difference between support and dependence. Support is someone walking beside you, reminding you that you're not alone. Dependence is expecting them to carry you the whole way. And when it comes to healing, no one else can walk that path for you. They can encourage you, listen to you, hold space for you, but they can't make the changes, face the pain, or do the inner rewiring required to truly heal. It's tempting to believe that someone else can fix it, that a new relationship will make the pain go away, that a friend's constant reassurance will raise your insecurity, that if enough people validate your story, the wound will magically disappear. But it doesn't work that way. Healing is an internal process. It demands honesty, discomfort, time, and solitude. It requires sitting with your past, confronting patterns, taking accountability, and breaking cycles that have kept you stuck. It's deep personal work that can't be outsourced. No matter how badly you want someone else to do it for you. People often delay their healing by focusing too much on what others did to them. Yes, people hurt you. Yes, trauma happened. And yes, your pain is valid. But healing isn't about getting others to admit they were wrong or to finally apologize. It's about deciding that you no longer want to carry the weight of what they did. You're not healing for them. You're healing for you. That's the hardest part. Shifting from blame to responsibility. Not because you're to blame for what happened, but because only you are responsible for how you carry it now. Waiting for someone else to make you whole again is a trap. It keeps you tethered to the pain. It puts your peace in someone else's hands. And most of the time, the people you're waiting on are never going to give you the closure you think you need. They may never say sorry. They may never understand. And even if they do, it won't fix the parts of you that have been shaped by what happened. Only you can do that. Only you can look within and decide who you want to become in the aftermath. Healing also requires boundaries with others and with yourself. It means knowing when to stop venting and start acting. It means stepping away from people who trigger your pain, even if you love them. It means resisting the urge to numb yourself with distractions or dive into another relationship just to feel okay. True healing isn't glamorous. It's not always visible. It looks like late nights journaling, silent drives replaying memories, difficult conversations with yourself in the mirror. It looks like feeling everything you've spent years trying not to feel. You may lose people on this journey. Not everyone will understand why you're pulling back, why you're changing, why you're no longer the version of yourself that tolerated certain things. That's okay. Healing isn't about maintaining comfort. It's about growth, and growth is uncomfortable. Sometimes it means being misunderstood, walking away from the familiar, and choosing peace over popularity. Not everyone is meant to go with you, and not everyone deserves access to your healed self if they couldn't respect your broken one. The more you heal, the more you realize how much of your pain was tied to things you thought were normal. You start questioning old beliefs, noticing toxic patterns, and understanding why you reacted the way you did in certain situations. You gain insight. You gain strength, you gain clarity, but it doesn't come from waiting for someone to rescue you. It comes from doing the quiet, courageous, and often messy work of healing your own heart, your own mind, your own soul. You are responsible for your own peace. Not your partner, not your parents, not your friends, not your boss, just you. That truth is both liberating and intimidating. It means you have the power to create calm in your life, but it also means you keep blaming everyone else when you feel chaotic inside. Most people walk through life believing that peace is something that happens to them when everything around them finally settles down. They think, when my relationship is better, I'll be calm. When I get that job, I'll feel okay. When they stop triggering me, I'll finally be at peace. That mindset keeps you trapped in a cycle of waiting. Waiting for people to change, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for life to give you permission to feel grounded. But peace isn't found in perfection. It's not the absence of problems. It's the presence of clarity and inner stillness in the middle of everything that's happening. You don't need the world to calm down for you to be calm. You just need to stop handing your inner state over to external forces. Because the truth is, if your peace can be taken away every time someone disrespects you, disagrees with you, or disappoints you, then it was never truly yours. It was borrowed. And anything borrowed can be taken back. Peace is built through choices. It's built by the boundaries you set, the energy you protect, the conversations you choose to have or walk away from. It's in the habits you create, the way you speak to yourself, the environments you place yourself in. Every day, you're either contributing to your peace or subtracting from it. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control what you allow to take root in your mind, the things you replay, the stories you tell yourself, the weight you choose to carry. Peace isn't passive. It's an active, intentional process. Part of taking responsibility for your peace means understanding your triggers, not avoiding them, not blaming others for setting them off, but facing them with honesty. Triggers are not the enemy. They're indicators. They show you where the work is. If something or someone repeatedly disrupts your emotional balance, that's a sign not that they need to change, but that you need to heal. Because when you're truly grounded, people can throw cows your way and it doesn't shake your core. You stop absorbing everything. You stop taking things personally. You stop trying to control what isn't yours to control. This responsibility also means learning how to self-soothe. Not through avoidance, but through presence. Can you sit with yourself when you're overwhelmed, angry, or sad without needing someone else to fix it? Can you breathe through discomfort instead of reacting from it? Can you choose not to engage in every argument, not because you're weak, but because you value your peace more than your ego? These are the moments where your growth shows, not in how much you can control others, but in how well you can regulate yourself. Taking responsibility for your peace also requires discernment. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, your energy. You don't owe everyone a reaction. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes protecting your peace means being okay with being misunderstood. Sometimes it means stepping back from people you love. Sometimes it means walking away from what's familiar because you know it's no longer healthy. That's not cold. It's clarity. When you finally decide that your inner state matters more than outside approval, everything shifts. You stop chasing chaos and calling it passion. You stop confusing drama with connection. You stop mistaking adrenaline for love. Peace feels different. It's quiet. It's steady. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need validation. And once you've tasted it, anything that disrupts it becomes too expensive to entertain.